Here are the video solutions for AQA Functional Skills Maths Level 1. This is paper 2, which is the calculator paper, and this is June 2022. So question number 1, a calculator is not going to be of any use here. Which angle measures 30 degrees? So this is about identifying an acute angle. Remember that an acute angle is any angle which is less than 90 degrees. Well, we can see that A is greater than 90 degrees, B is also greater than 90 degrees, so it could be D or it could be C. However, we can see that D is pretty close to being a right angle, so that is very close to 90, whereas C is much smaller, so C is the angle that is 30 degrees. Question number 2, how many lines of symmetry does the equilateral triangle have? So if we were to draw a line right down the middle and fold it along this line, then the left hand side would sit on the right hand side. But similarly, if we were to fold along this line and also this line here, basically this is exactly the same as the first line we've drawn, except we've just rotated the triangle round. So as we can see, we have 3 lines of symmetry there. Number 3, write in words 91072. So what I would do is, whenever you've got a long number, count groups of 3 from the right and put in a comma. Now the first comma represents the word 1000, so this is simply 91 comma, which is the 1000, and then just read this number here, which is just 72, so 91,072. So the first comma is 1000, second comma is million, third column is billion. Okay, one card is chosen at random from these 8 number cards. Write down the probability that the number on the card is less than 2. So less than 2 means not 2. It's got to be less than 2. So less than 2 is 1, 1 and 0. So that is 3, 3 out of 8. So the probability is simply 3 out of 8, 3/8. Put the following decimals in order, starting with the largest. Now the only complication here potentially is the fact that we've got 3 decimal places, 2 decimal places, 1 decimal place and 3. So by adding 1 0 here and 2 zeros here, we now have 4 decimals which are the same length. Now they all start with a 2, so we can't really tell them apart from the first decimal place, but here in the second decimal place we've got a 1, we've got a 5, we've got a 0, and we've got a 0. So what is the biggest one? 5, 0, 0. Well, obviously it's 5. So 0.25, that is the largest decimal. So again, comparing the second decimal place, we've got a 1, a 0, and a 0. So 1 is greater than 0, so 0.219 is next. And now let's just compare. So we've got a 2, a 0, and a 0. So we're looking at the third decimal place, we've got a 0 and a 6. 6 is bigger than 0, so 0.206 is bigger than 0.200, which I'll just leave as 0.2. So there we go, 0.25, 0.219, 0.206 and 0.2. Round this number here to 2 decimal places, so it's 9.3583. So if we're rounding to 2 decimal places, we're interested in the value of the third decimal place. Fourth decimal place is completely irrelevant. Now if this number is 5 or more, then the column to the left is going to move up by 1. Well, 8 is greater than 5, so this 5 here will move up 1 to 6, so 9.36. Question number 7, a couple of ways to do this. It depends how good you are with your percentage multipliers. The quick way is 12680 multiplied by 1.15, and that will give you an answer of £145.82. Now, a lot of people will not understand where this number comes from. If you're calculating 15% of something, you would multiply by 0.15. So this is the number if you want to work out 15% of an amount. But if you want to increase by 15%, you just add 1 to this number. So 0.15 plus 1 is 1.5. So 1.15. So that is to increase by 15%. Now, I suspect a lot of people will do it this way. So you work out 10% first, which is divide that by 10. 12.68, work out 5%, which is half of 10%, so that is £6.34. So 15% is going to be 10% plus 5%, so it's these two figures added together, and if we add 12.68 and 6.34, we get £19.02. So this is 15%, so if we're increasing this amount here by 15%, then it's simply 12680 plus £19.02. We still get the same answer, £145.82. Question number 8, So it's all about understanding what the net of a cube is. Now the net of a cube is usually, there's a couple of nets, but the most easy one to spot is 4 squares in a straight line, mine's a bit wobbly, with one on the left. Again, this is a fairly poor set of squares that I've drawn here, with one on the left and one on the right. Now the one on the left can be anywhere on any square on the left, as can the one on the right. It makes no difference. So your net could look like this. Alternatively, that one could be down there. It really doesn't matter. So if we look at B, that is perfect. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 in a row, and there's one on the left and one on the right. So B is the net of a cube-shaped box with a lid. So the net of a cube-shaped box without a lid, well, means we just need to take one of these, we just need to remove a square. So what that means is we will have 5 squares. Well, it's not B because we already know that is the one with the lid. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We've got 6 boxes for A, and I suspect that that wouldn't work anyway. But whereas with C, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that is a cube without a lid. Okay, so for this question, what we need to do is just add up the time. So we've got 45 minutes plus 20 minutes, and it's easier if we turn 1.5 hours into 90 minutes. So that comes to a total of 155 minutes. 1 hour is 60, 2 hours is 120, 3 hours is 180. So we can see that that is going to be 2 hours. The difference between 155 and 120 is 35 minutes. So we need to go back from 1 p.m. Let's go back, well, let's take away 2 hours, 35 minutes. So first of all, let's take off 2 hours. So 1 p.m. minus 2 hours takes me to 11 a.m. Now I'm going to take away the 35 minutes, so 11 a.m. minus 35 minutes. If I take off 30 first, that will take me to 10:30 a.m. minus 5 minutes, so that will take me to 10:25 a.m. Okay, so Nikki starts to sand the floor at 10:15 a.m. Will she finish the work by 1 p.m? Well, the answer is yes, she'll have 10 minutes to spare. You could even say yes, she can finish the work if she starts later at 10:25. That will be more than fine. Okay, question 10b. So we need to work out how much varnish is needed for this floor, and we know that it's 500 millilitres for each square metre. So what I'm going to do is work out the area of the floor by dropping a vertical line here and calling this rectangle A and rectangle B. So A is going to be the area of rectangle A is simply 2.5 multiplied by 3.7, and 2.5 times 3.7 is 9.25 square metres. And for B, it's 1.8 multiplied by, right, we need to be careful here, we need to work out this length here. Well, if it's 6.5 from here to here and 2.5 from here to here, then this distance here is going to be 6.5 minus the 2.5, which is 4. So it's 1.8 multiplied by 4, which is 7.2 square metres. So therefore the total area is 9.25 plus 7.2, and that comes to 16.45 square metres. Now we need 500 ml of varnish for each square metre, so therefore we just need to multiply 500 by 16.45, and 16.45 multiplied by 500 comes to 8,225 millilitres. Do we need to turn that in? No, we don't need to turn it into litres. That's good news. So the answer is simply 8,225, and we are done. Okay, so on to section B. So the key thing here is Ross needs to make 3 litres. Well, this recipe is for 2 litres, so he needs to make this entire recipe plus half of the recipe again. Half of 2 is 1, and that extra 1 litre, when you add it to the 2, will make the 3 litres. So if we're looking at the carrots, he needs 1.2 kilos, plus he also will need another 0.6 kilos. So 1.2 plus 0.6 is 1.8 kilos of carrots needed. Now what I would do here is, we know he's already got 500 grams, so what I would do here is turn the kilos into grams. 1.8 kilos is, what we need to do is remember that, well, 1 kilo is 1,000 grams, so when we're turning kilos into grams, we're multiplying by 1,000. So it's 1.8 multiplied by 1,000, which is 1,800 grams. Now we know that he's already got 500 grams, so if we subtract the 500 from the 1,800, we get 1,300 grams. So this is the mass of carrots he needs to buy. Now they're sold in 750 gram packs, so one pack, well, that is 750 grams, that's not enough. 2 packs, well, that's going to be 750 multiplied by 2, which is 1,500, which is more than 1,300 grams, so he will need to buy 2 packs. Okay, moving on to the next one. So to work out the volume of a cuboid, we simply multiply the measurements together. So 23 times 15 times by 11, that comes to a volume of 3,795, and the unit is centimetres cubed. Now we've been told that 1 litre is 1,000 cubic centimetres, so if we're converting litres to cubic centimetres, we're multiplying by 1,000. So if we're going in the other direction, we're dividing by 1,000. So therefore we need to divide 3,795 by 1,000, and that is 3.795 litres. The container is large enough to hold the 3 litres of soup. Is Ross correct? Yes, because 3.795 is greater than 3. Okay, so for this question, the key thing is that we are told that he sold 8 litres of lentil soup. Now lentil soup is 36 degrees, so a 36 degree slice equals 8 litres. Now we're interested in chicken, which is 144 degrees. So if it was let's say, well, I guess the numbers aren't that obvious really, but if it was 72 degrees, 72 is double 36 degrees, so it would be double 8, which would be 16. So what we need to do here is work out, well, how many times greater is 144 than 36? Well, the answer is, well, what is 144 divided by 36? And that is 4. And if you're uncertain whether that works, just multiply 36 by 4 and you get 144 degrees. So the slice is 4 times bigger, so that will correspond to 4 times more the number of litres, and 8 times 4 is 32. So that is 32 litres of chicken soup. So it's 32, and we know that it's £3.49 per litre. So it's 32 multiplied by 3.49, and that comes to a total of 111.68. Question number 10. Okay, so the total hire, we'll just do, sorry, the tool hire depot, so I'll just write TH for short. So it's £16 per day, and we want for 3 days. So first of all, 16 times by 3, that is £48, but it's going to be 20% off. Well, 10% is £4.80, just divide that by 10, so therefore 20% is £4.80 doubled, and that is £9.60. So all we need to do is subtract the £9.60 from £48, and we get £38.40. Okay, let's work out for Easy Hire Company. So it's £15 per day, 3 days, so that's 15 times by 3, so that's £45. Except it's probably not the smartest way to do it. Actually, it's probably easier to think full price for day 1, full price for day 2. So it's 15 plus half of 15, which is £7.50, and just add these together and that comes to £37.50. So we want to work out which one is the cheaper, so we can say that Easy Hire is cheaper. Oops. Okay, there we go. Okay, first of all, for question number 11, doing the frequency is relatively straightforward. We can see they're grouped in bunches of 5, so this is 5 plus 1 is 6. If the frequency is 2, then we'll just do 2 tally marks. Now we know the total is 20, so if we take away 2, take away 6 and take away 9, or simply if we add 9 plus 6 to make 15, plus 2 is 17, then that means there's 3 left over, so 1, 2, 3. So now we just need to plot this. So the biggest frequency is 9, so I think we can go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So this was frequency, so don't normally write like this, but I'm a bit tight for space here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is a bar chart. So the first one is going to be for 1 to 3 visits. Then the next one, 4 to 6, 7 to 9. So I'll leave a gap, 4 to 6. I'll just mark where I'm going to start the bars. The next one is 7 to 9, which will be in here. And what was the final one? 10 to 12. So the important thing is to make sure that all your bars are of equal widths and the gaps between them are the same as well. So the frequencies were 9, 6, 3, 2. So the first one is 9. I've forgotten the numbers already. 6, 3, 2. There we go. So I'm just putting in the tops of the bars just because I can't be bothered scrolling up and down the whole time. Okay, now when you do this, you should definitely use a pencil and a ruler. So I'm making a bit of a shortcut here just to speed things up. There we go. So I've got 4 bars of equal widths. You can see they're all 2 big squares across, and the gap between them is also 2. It's not important that the gap is the same width as the width of the bars themselves, as long as there's consistency between the width of the gaps and consistency with the widths of the bars themselves. And maybe we should put in a scale, which is number of sorry, not put in a scale, put in an axis title. So this is number of visits. There we go, and we're done. Okay, so for this question, what we need to do is we need to add up the total for the normal price and the total of the staff discount price. So if we add all of these together, then we get £82.75, and if we add up the staff discount, we get £40.49. So Zola says the total cost with a discount is less than half. Okay, well, so let's work out half of 82.75. If I divide 82.75 by 2, I get 375. We can call that 41.38 if we prefer, and we can see that the discount price is less because £40.49p is less than 41. Even if I rounded it down to 41.37, it's 40.49 is still less. So we can say yes, Zola is correct. Okay, moving on to question number 12. Okay, so what we need to do is option B. Option B is, first of all, we're paying 10%, which is this figure divided by 10. So you can use your calculator if you want to, but hopefully you don't need to. It's just 3254.9, or £3,254.90p. On top of that, we are paying 48 lots of 638, and 48 times 638 is 30,624. So the total that is being paid is going to be the 325,490 plus the 30,624, which comes to a total of £33,878.90. So we can see that that is more than option A. How much more is it? Well, that is simply 33878.90 take away 32549, and we get a final answer of 1329.90. Okay, so what we need to do for 12b is we've got the cost is the price of the parts. We know the price of the parts is 794.85 plus £52.50 multiplied by the number of hours worked. Well, on the Monday 9 AM to 1 PM, that is 4 hours, and then we've got 2 hours, so in total that is 6 hours. So we just need to remember that we're doing bid mass here, so we need to do the multiplication first. And so £52.50 multiplied by 6, that is £315. So 794.85 plus 315, that comes to our final answer, which is £1,109.85p. I'll just write that down in the answer box. There we go, 1109.85. Okay, so this question here, we know the battery can hold 80 kilowatt hour of energy. If it's a quarter full, we can see it's a quarter full, then 1/4 of 80, well, that is 80 divided by 4, which is 20 kilowatt hour. Okay, so we know that 1 kWh, by the way, you don't need to know that it stands for kilowatt hour, by the way, we can just see it as a set of random letters. 1 kWh equals 3.2 miles, so therefore 20 kWh is going to be 3.2 multiplied by 20, and that is 64 miles. So there's enough charge in the battery to travel 64 miles. Is that enough for his journey, which is 28 miles to work? But he needs to go to work and come back, so we need to double the 28. 28 times 2 is 56, and since 64 is greater than 56, yes, Kofi has enough energy in the battery. There we go. And I believe that takes us to the end of the paper.